In the last episode that you did not watch, I stopped in the Eagle Pass on the border of Mexico. And after that, I blazed across Texas to the city of Smiley and almost fell asleep at all this flat, straight roads and oil fields and oil derricks. And then I finally wound up in a graveyard. So tonight, I am camped in a cemetery, and it's the best spot I could find. I think I've been looking for about 100 miles now, and lots of little towns. Last town I passed through, tiny little town, had 2 cops in it, and nothing that even comes close to something that I could stealth in. But I'm still by the highway here. It's extraordinarily busy. I don't know if you can see trucks going by, but it seems like they all have tires that are about to explode. Graveyard, cemetery. I've been wanting to do this for a while. It's just my first opportunity, mainly because I passed one earlier. It's like, wow, cemetery. That's better than what I've seen so far. Actually, I saw a couple spots and I just kept going. I was like, nah, gonna find a rest stop. And I never did. So here we are in the cemetery. Just a few days after Halloween. Maybe the coolest thing about this cemetery is when I pulled up, is sitting here reading the signs and going, okay, does it say no camping? No. And I sat here for a second and the gate opened up. I was like, oh, cool. So it's got an automatic gate. Anyway, and it's got these weird looking lights over there under that tree. The big, I don't know what that is, the oak. There's several big ass trees out here. I woke to a very cold and moist morning with a blanket of fog circling my campsite. I'm not sure I could have found a better camping spot, only if it had been further away from the highway. The noise coming from the tires, from the trucks, all night, all morning, was a bit distracting and made this a less than perfect campsite otherwise. So yeah, I don't know if this counts as camping in a cemetery or not. I don't care. I mean, it's a great spot. Nobody came up and told me to leave last night, and there's nothing better in there other than the grass is mowed. So I don't really see the need to camp inside with the dead bodies. But slept really good despite the fact it's really cold. I don't know why it was so cold. I put the ground pad inside there's a pocket for ground pads on my sleeping bag, and I think most of them. But my ground pad is so big, it swallowed up the sleeping bag and made it really tight, so I couldn't zip it up all the way. Anyway, wound up a couple hours into the night, probably, I don't know, 1 o'clock, pulling the ground pad out, and I rolled over on the ground. I was like, whoa, the ground was really cold. And that's kind of weird. So I don't know what that's all about. Well, I guess this thing senses, I was thinking it was a motion detector, but it's probably magnetic. I don't know. It opened yesterday when I pulled up, which was really creepy first. And then I was like, yeah, it's just automated. There's a gate. I didn't recognize the gate. Anyway, yeah, it was a good night overall, except the fact it was so cold. I think it's only supposed to be like 40 something. Like 48 is what I read. Man, it feels like it's like 38. Ooh, it's cold. Yeah, there's something really interesting to me about graves. I don't know what it is. I don't really find graves creepy. I'm not really, what do you call it? Superstitious. I don't believe in spirits and things like that. So the death thing doesn't bother me. The thing that I find interesting is, you know, their story. I want these people's stories. I want to know more about them. I want to know the fascinating things about them. Some of the creepiest cemeteries I've been in have a whole lot of small children. I can remember one, it seemed like a third of the graves were in there with kids under 2. I may not have mentioned this, but I have truly discovered this magnificent folding table on the back of my bike. With the side stand down, it's not a very good table, but if you put it up on the center stand, this thing rocks. You know, it's my homemade top case, really cheap waterproof top case that I installed shortly after I got the bike. But not just that, it makes a brilliant table when you don't have one. And I don't really like cooking on the ground. And I'm not so sure how much things I'm going to cook on this table, quote table, in the future. But man, it works great for coffee in the morning. And it's worth all the effort getting that thing, that big heavy beast, up on the center stand to cook up the coffees. So, I have a fascination with the dead. Not like you think, but more like a historical fascination. And I have explored quite a few abandoned cemeteries out in the middle of nowhere. And I have gotten a couple of complaints. Usually it's the loudest people on the internet are the ones that are the most extreme, the most, you know, excited about whatever thing that makes them angry or triggers them or whatever. So that's, I don't find that unusual that I get a couple of comments. But the comments that I've gotten, I kind of understand. I understand that significance of death and markers and final resting places. I get the significance of it, so I don't want to dismiss it like I do a lot of the other angry, loud, obnoxious commenters. But at the same time, I do want to explore, and I'm not gonna let some extreme comment or somebody's extreme feelings about somebody they don't even know stop me. So maybe I should address that now, the way I feel about it. So maybe some of you can understand that what I'm doing right now has absolutely nothing to do with my disrespect or my possible desecration of a grave or whatever. And I think that's kind of the gist of what I've said before to the commenters. You know, how dare you go stomping on, you're walking on somebody's grave. And I think typically I respond by, you know, I didn't spit or shit on somebody's grave. I'm walking across it. I'm trying to find out the history. Not really what I'm doing here, but also I'm sitting in a place that maybe, and quite very possibly, the people that were buried here might be very excited that I'm sitting on their grave. talking about them, bringing them back to life, like the camera is sitting on Dustin John Boudreaux's grave. Apparently he was a very young man, quite attractive man, young man, but he died early. Looks like he was 20 years old. So should Dustin Boudreaux vanish to history, or is it better that maybe somebody like me comes along and goes, Dustin, here he is, and he's got this great bench that his folks put next to his plot, so somebody else could come along and document his life and maybe talk about something. Yeah, I'm not sure if the Boudreaux family showed up, how they would feel about it. I don't know. But if they did show up and they were angry, perhaps I could convince them to talk about Dustin and his life, and maybe how he died, and how maybe other people can be prevented from dying such a young death. And maybe it could be a learning experience. Yeah, I don't know. I feel strongly about exploring mostly abandoned graves. I think it's always interesting. I do stop at quite a few maintained cemeteries too, so I have a fascination, and I don't think it's wrong. So there, I hope that explains my position, and I hope that maybe eases some people concerns about my alleged disrespect. It's so cold out here, my noodles are already cold. They're delicious. I don't often have noodles for breakfast, but somebody showed me this the other day. I was like, wow, noodles for breakfast. Oh yeah, it's great. It is great. Packed up in just over an hour. Very little impact if you don't count my deer spot, my bedded down spot. If you don't count that, wonderful camping experience, except for how damn cold it was. Unbelievably cold. But here we are. Woo! Alright, headed east. Yeah, I was thinking earlier that you would think, well, just knowing me, you would think that it's a pain in the butt every time I gotta pack up in the morning. I mean, really, seriously, it takes me a whole lot longer to pack up than it does to drag everything out, because, like I said, it has to be methodical. It has to be, relatively well thought out, which for me is takes a lot of effort. All thought for me takes a lot of effort. Damn, this thing's cramped when I first get on it. Well, it's always cramped, but it's more cramped when the pack is sticking into your back. So all I have to do to get out of here, just avoid the cow poop. I heard the cattle, just didn't see any, so maybe they got them pinned up somewhere else. But thank you to the community of Nixon, which I think this is more than just Nixon. Nixon's that way, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles that way, maybe less. And I think there's a Seguin out here. But other than that, I'm not really sure. But this is my closest neighbor, I think, in the double wide. I think there's somebody back there with a dog, too, that every time I turned on my flashlight, the dog would go burp, 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 which I think is a pretty damn good dog. There's the cattle. That may be the closest cattle. But yeah, it's warmed up quickly. And I have been packing for at least an hour. But I'm never in a hurry. When I get in a hurry, I tend to miss things and lose things, misplace things. So I have to be really careful. So I just take my time. Smiley. That's where my guy was from. So I guess thank you, Smiley, for allowing me to spend the night in your wonderful. I didn't know I was this close to anything else other than Nixon. Nixon was shocking. The shocking town that's not much bigger than this that had 2 police officers, 2 nice police cars. It's kind of surprising.
Flowers and dolls and one man that had artificial leg.
Wow.
We don't know the story behind it, but he's deceased now. They had this card on there.
Huh.
But
Next time I stop at some Texas roadside attractions, and I am sure you will get a kick out of them just like I did. So stay tuned. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and all your dreams will come true. I promise.